Hey, good morning, everyone. And well, at least it's morning when we're recording. I'm not sure when you're watching, but welcome back to Feather, Prime, and Talk. This is episode 5 of our podcast. We apologize for the delay. It's been a couple of months since we released Feather, Prime, and Talk episode with some traveling and vacation schedules for everybody. We just couldn't get it all put together, but let's hope we can make this a little more regular like we were in the beginning. Just on today's episode, I give you an idea of what we're talking about today. We're going to share some communication we got from a member and some of the frustrations they're going through, which leads us into a conversation about just the general frustration especially when we're dealing with accessories and connectors and information labels. And you don't want to miss this. Norm gets really fired up on this one. He's very passionate about the subject, and you want to see it. So, without any further ado, let's jump into the episode. And we're going to start with the ATA's first retraction from a podcast. We talked about the mobilization fee a while ago, and we presented some information that there was opportunities for a car that maybe wasn't towed in. The customer brought it in, and you could still bill the mobilization fee. And I think we got the information a little inaccurate, although that opportunity might be there if you can really justify it. It's not how we want to move forward. And I think the message is if it was towed to your facility, whether it's drivable or not, whatever shape that vehicle was in, you can charge the mobilization fee of $100. And for that, that odd one that is an exception that a customer brought into a rural area, I think our best bet is we're just kind of turning away from those, and you're further ahead if you charge the mobilization fee on anything that was towed into your facility. You guys want to comment on that? Am I capturing that correctly?
That is totally 100% correct. So if MPI's organized the tow to your shop, doesn't matter if it needs a boost or just some air in the tire. If it's towed there, you qualify for the vehicle mobilization fee. So unfortunately, like Dennis was mentioning, we kind of talked about if the customer tows it in there themselves, but that's not the case. So it has to be a tow that's been organized by MPI. So every single time, it's one of those give and take situations. Sometimes you won't be able to if the customer drops it off, but if MPI tows it there, $100 vehicle mobilization fee is yours for the taking. So
Yeah. And I mean, I guess it makes sense on the back end too, right? For MPI to be able to validate the tow
yeah,
because they're the ones that I guess administered it. So it just reduces more back and forth between the shops. They can clearly see on their end that it was towed there, the fee gets paid, and a discussion.
perfect.
Right. Simple enough.
Hmm.
Let's move into the meat of our conversation this morning. I thought I'd start. I'm going to share a just a short email I got from a member on one of the frustrations they go through. Take me just a second to read it. It says, "I wonder if at some point you could talk about buying connectors from connector experts. I have a claim right now that needs a pigtail for an LED side marker lamp that is lowest cost from CE. When I received a quote from CE via email, it was one price. MPI changed what dollar amount put on the claim. They used the price off the website, which was different from what I was quoted in the email. I was told by CE in one of my many calls to them that the price MPI used was my cost pricing if I only ordered one connector. Then when I phoned to order it, it was yet another price. How is the shop supposed to quote something when the company they're purchasing from doesn't know the price? I called and emailed CE multiple times to understand if there was a cost and retail pricing and to understand the different shipping options. Again, I received different answer from everyone. And if that wasn't enough time spent trying to save MPI a few dollars, my credit card company charges me a foreign transaction fee. Now, how do I ask for that? To me, it's very time consuming and confusing process that MPI makes the shops muddle through to save a few bucks. There needs to be clearer guidelines from MPI if they're going to require us to use this supplier. I've ordered the connector from CE without any confidence, and I hope to be fully compensated from MPI, but I have my doubts. I hope others in the industry have different solutions or a better understanding of the issue that they'd be willing to share. Norm, you want to jump into that one?
Yeah. Wow. Lots to unpack there for sure. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's it. I like getting emails like this because when I have these conversations with MPI, I'm told it's anecdotal or, Norm, we're not hearing this from other shops, but we all know that these are the type of little things that bog down our day and make it difficult for us to, get back to repairing cars. And if we're picking up the phone anytime we're dealing with this stuff, we're going to be on the phone all day. So I'm glad we received the email. Getting into this, I was looking through a couple of situations where I've talked to shops, and I got an email here from June 12th, 2020. And this is when buying connectors from the States was relatively unknown to the state, unknown to the industry, to shops, right? So in that particular incident, a shop had put on a $338 harness for the vehicle. They had submitted the supplement. It was a tow-in vehicle sitting there. They ordered the part, and then they got a supplement back from MPI saying, hey, this connector is available in the States for $88. You should get it from there. At the time, the shop was not familiar with buying things from the States, the shipping, what they get reimbursed for. And it sounds like that's still a common problem within the industry here with this process. But fast forward to 2024, where it's become a little more common to see shops reach out and buy some of these connectors from the States. But again, the water is a little muddy on how things are to proceed. It's not good enough that, there's big savings there. So in my example, there's hundreds of dollars, but shops are not able to get compensated for the shipping properly in some cases. And I can speak to that, as I had one example here where shipping was denied and I was told that can be shipped by regular mail. Now, the problem with that is that regular mail takes 2 to 3 weeks as opposed to days. And with that process, we're unable to track the part, right? As opposed to paying the $15 shipping where you can track where it's coming. So at the end of the day, we're getting the part for significantly less than we would get it from the OEM. And even with the, a foreign transaction fee, the conversion rate, and the shipping, we're still much cheaper than the OEM part, yet we're being clawed back on audit saying we're not paying shipping on these things. So, it's a very frustrating process. And, this shop is correct. It's happening a lot. I don't know, Ferd, if you want to weigh in on your thoughts.
Yeah, it seems to be, I've also had calls and inquiries and shops in the local area here, and it seems to be that never is there a situation where it's the same twice. So one time you're expecting it in the mail, you get a priority post, but you've got a $20 or $25 freight cost or shipping cost that you weren't expecting. So many things that are unknown when a shop buys these pieces from resellers or these out of market companies. You have to have a credit card, or you have to have a PayPal account, or all these things that some shops aren't set up for. So it becomes a bit of a convoluted process. So it's not enough that some shops are saying that they're getting quotes, they're uploading the quotes to their file, it's getting approved by an estimator. But when everything's said and done, you've got all these extra fees, and you're also waiting way, way, way longer than you're anticipating you're supposed to be. So, I mean, the process is good if it worked well, but right now we're finding so many bugs in the system that shops seem to always be struggling with to get compensated for. So, yeah, 100%. The email that we got was accurate, and we appreciate that type of stuff coming in. But trying to find a solution to that is something that's going to be ongoing here, I think.
Well, for sure. And let's not forget, these are parts that are not listed in the CEG, right? They don't come up in Mitchell. They don't, these are things that shops have to go look for on their own. So this is, connectors, we see it with labels, right? Where sometimes those labels from the OEM we have situations with one OEM where these labels are sometimes over $300, where they could be purchased from, another company from the States for $40. You've got another company that wants you to handwrite the VIN on the label when you get the label because they're not producing the same label. The customer's not getting the proper label back on their vehicle, right? So it's, we need some clarity there. And back to the email though, and we get into this whole cost plus situation. And I don't know about you guys, but there's a handful of words that raise the hair on the back of my neck, and cost plus has got to be one of them. And I do not understand for the life of me how we've ended up in a position where an insurance company not only demands to know our costs, but has access to our costs from suppliers. This is absolutely ridiculous. The idea of me walking into Walmart, demanding to see what their costs are, analyzing their margin, and then telling them I'm only going to pay X because they're making enough money on it, that doesn't hold any water. And I don't know why it seems to have found a place within our industry and our relationship with MPI. And I just don't get it. So I think that's the other thing that needs to be looked at. These companies have a list price, and that list price is a retail price that Joe off the street would pay if he was to buy it from that company, which is what is required from our insurance company. They don't want to pay more than retail. And I understand that. We don't want to get into this, marking up parts 2-3 times, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about a retail price set by the supplier that for some reason holds no weight anymore. It's not good enough. Now we got to go to cost plus, which is really frustrating. And I think that's something that we're going to have to get into, maybe in our next podcast, having that discussion, because we've actually got a supplier here in Manitoba that has granted MPI access to our accounts and to our cost, which again is absolutely baffling to me that we've been put in this situation. So as you guys can tell, this strikes a nerve, and I think this is something that needs to be cleaned up, because if we're going to have a healthy industry here in Manitoba and be able to repair cars safely, that means to be able to conduct business using normal business practices and respecting that margin that comes with that for business to be able to operate.
So Norm, how much, what type of percentage of this type of stuff do you think would be affecting shops? This type of stuff.
I think a lot of it.
It's the small things, but it's the small things that take so much time.
Well, that's just it. I was going to say, like, this is a small percentage, but it takes up way more time than it should. And I think a lot of this depends on where the shop is and their work mix, right? If they're working on, I'll use myself as an example. We're in a rural setting, right? And if the farmers have a good year, we're buying chrome kits, we're putting chrome door handles, bug deflectors, the whole 9 yards, right? But when this comes full circle in the fall and they end up running into a deer and we're replacing those parts, then that's where we're reaching out to some of these aftermarket suppliers where there's a list price. And in this situation, we have a supplier that's given our cost to our insurance company, which is ludicrous. So I just can't get behind that. So sorry, guys, but yeah.
It's all right. I think it's fair to say. I mean, Norm, I know you're actively involved in this issue.
Yeah.
Ferd, it gets discussed at the Parts and Tech Committee quite often, and it's an issue we're looking at. But I think it's fair to say there's a gap still between what we're hoping for, what we're looking for, and where MPI's position is currently at. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Absolutely. I don't know. Maybe am I out of line for expecting our suppliers not to share our costs with MPI? Is that am I the only one who thinks that's a huge overreach on our insurance company's part? I don't know.
I think you got something there, Norm.
Because what would be your motivation into negotiating better pricing for yourself if it's going to be a cost plus situation, right?
Well, and that's where it's counterintuitive, right? If I'm in a situation where I've negotiated myself a better discount with a supplier based on my volume, right? So I can buy that part for a lower price. I'm going to use Ferd as an example. I'm going to use a tonneau cover. I buy 100 tonneau covers a year. Ferd buys one. I negotiated myself a better deal. I can buy those tonneau covers for $100 cheaper than Ferd. Yet I submit that invoice to MPI, mark up my lower price, and get a lower dollar. Ferd gets to supply a higher price and mark up a higher price, and MPI will pay that to him and not me. How does this make any sense?
Yeah, he makes $25 more on that tonneau cover than you do.
Absolutely. We need to get this sorted out. These are again, little things, but you want to get into why the frustration lies, at I don't want to say in the trenches, but on the transactional level every day with MPI, it's these little things. It's our staff having to deal with audits. It's our staff having to deal with supplements and being directed to buy from a certain supplier at a certain price that we can mark up, controlling costs. And that's a slippery slope, in my opinion.
All right. Well, it's a really fun episode this time. I love it when Norm gets fired up. Um, as we close off, I just, one other thing I wanted to bring everyone's attention to. If you haven't heard, we've got our President's Ball coming up April 20th. Fantastic event, high class event at the Manitoba Club. We will be recognizing our Hall of Fame inductees this year. Les Heshka from Eastside Collision, Cecil Frun from Moonlight Auto Body in Winkler. And I'm drawing. Oh my! I had them written down, and I don't have the piece of paper. Oh, sorry. Yes, Mark Lowen from Lowen Auto Body in Steinbach. Those are inductees this year, and we only have, I think, about 25, 27 tickets left. So we're almost sold out. If you want to get tickets, go to Event Camp and get your tickets. Anyway,
Yeah,
great
this
episode,
was
and we look forward to seeing everybody again soon. Norm, it's your ball. It's the President's Ball. You want to add anything to that?
No, I was just gonna throw in there. Last year was our first year doing, well, not our first year, but kind of bringing it back, and it was excellent. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I love the Manitoba Club. This was
Fantastic
a
night.
great place, nice setting, and some great people, good conversation. So I'm looking forward to it once again this year.
All right, guys. Hey, looking forward to seeing everybody at the next episode. And hey, keep your comments coming in and suggestions for us to cover in future episodes. Take care.